We've all seen the movie The Matrix. It was interesting and fun on the big screen of the TV, but has it become a bit too real in your own life? Are you seeing glitches in the Matrix and trying to figure out what's happening? Have you been told that you've been tricked and that you need to fight against what they've done to you? The deception. Whether you're just beginning to notice, or if you've been searching for a more peaceful and congruent way to live without battling them, you're in the right place. I'm Ken, and I'll be joined by Eliza and Raina Stella. Let's explore together on the Liberty Ark. Welcome to the Liberty Ark Podcast. I'm here with Eliza and Raina Stella, as always, and we're going to have a little conversation tonight. Hopefully that's interesting to you. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing really good. How are you, Ken? How are you, Eliza?
Doing great over here.
I'm going to kick this
Glad to
up.
see you.
The Liberty Ark Podcast is inspired by a book called The Great International Heist. And if you've been following us, we're working through that book. It's written by some friends of ours, authors Rebecca and Jonathan Rodrigues. And we're on episode 32. If you haven't seen the others, go back and take a look at those. And we're also kind of, I guess, would say sponsored by a methodology or teaching that Rebecca and Jonathan do. And you can find out more about it at libertyarkpodcast.com/white rabbit. And so Eliza is going to read a small section out of the book, and then we're going to talk about it. So Eliza, you hit at it there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Episode 32, Influential Characters and Their Roles, the Bank. As we continue our discussion of the components connecting the legal system, banking, and contracting, we now lend our attention to the bank. The bank in this relationship manages the flow of currency and economic resources, acting as the custodian of value. It issues currency, regulates financial institutions, and influences economic policies. Therefore, we see that the bank's power extends beyond financial transactions, extending to shaping societal structures by determining the distribution of resources and opportunities. The Crown's authority is deeply entrenched in our financial systems, with its power therein virtually unchallenged. Through this mechanism, the Crown maintains its control by ensuring that the populace remains dependent on the financial system for their livelihood. This relationship allows the bank to issue loans, manage accounts, and regulate financial institutions, all while shaping economic policies that affect every aspect of society. Thus, the bank's role as an intermediary ensures that the flow of currency, representing individuals' collective labor and value, remains within the controlled parameters set by the Crown's authority.
So if you've been following along with us, I think last episode we talked about the Crown, right? And so if you haven't listened to that, you might want to listen to that to kind of get a context as to what we're talking about here. But we're referring to the Crown as the control mechanism, whatever that is and whoever that is, which I don't think any of us actually know. But there has to be a guiding hand, basically, that manipulates and controls. And one of the levers that they use is the economic or financial systems through the banks and economic policies. And that's what we're going to kind of talk mainly about today, is how that lever is used to keep people under control and to keep your resources utilized for them rather than for you. Is that a legitimate way of saying it, guys?
Very well said. Thanks, Ken.
All right. So we'll go back to the beginning here and just kind of work our way through. This is just kind of an introductory, so I'm going to go to the next one. How about that? Okay. Manages the flow of currency. Now, currency is always an interesting word, isn't it? mean, it's the name for our physical money stuff that we use, I guess, but it's an electric term too, and it flow of energy effectively. And that's really how it's utilized. And they're controlling our value through that. Go ahead.
So with that point right there, manages the flow of currency. So, who would have thought, right? Growing up, I really thought it was just you open a bank account and the bank holds your money. But from reading this, it just seems like it's more of them. They flow really the control of our life by using banks. Like the flow is really controlling us, controlling the flow of our life, is how I see it.
Yeah, the bank is like when we think of a bank, we think of a physical structure, I think. I think this is using an expanded concept there. The bank is representing the whole financial system and economic policies that underlie that financial system. And that's where the control comes from. It's not from the individual bank around the corner, but the financial system in which that bank is a component of.
Right.
And it is the bank around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It is.
It's the systematic, it's a structure, but within that structure, we're not just walking in and having them hold our money. There's a lot more.
Right, but that is a useful service that they provide. You wouldn't want to be without that, right?
We depend a lot on someone holding.
You don't want to be governed by it, but you want to have it available to you.
That's right.
So I don't think the bank, the individual bank, is really in and of itself a problem. It's that it represents something much greater. That it's just one small lever in, basically.
Absolutely. And we had just privately discussed some of this before, but we think of what is the bank's purpose, our currency system's purpose. It is to facilitate our ability to transact in commerce. Commerce being what can I take that I have given my value to that will then flow to provide value to the next person so that we can actually do an exchange. And we can't, I grow potatoes, they don't want potatoes, but they have onions. I would like their onions. We need a common mode of exchange. So the fact that banks are there for the common good to facilitate that exchange that we call commerce is a great thing. But when that ability to facilitate then gets utilized as a control mechanism outside of the benefit to participate in commerce, as is happening in many cases right now, right? It becomes more of, look, we kind of have you trapped because this is the way that we know you need commerce. So how can we put more control on this? Basically controlling your energy, your efforts, etc., your earning capacity, and how you utilize that. Then that pretty much brings us today to our discussion of, okay, now how is this manifesting in the modern age?
Now, before we go to the next slide, I like custodian of value. To me, that tells me, hey, someone's taking care of my value being the deposit I just made at that corner bank, right? If it was that basic, custodian of value, they're holding and taking care of it. If it was that basic, great. That's how I understood it. But as you were discussing there, they facilitate definitely the ability for us to operate in commerce. But again, those are the basics of it, but there's a lot more to it. And that's where it becomes problematic. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if like all of us grew up thinking that it's just as basic as it sounds. and it's not. And that's where we want to dig further as we go through these slides to really understand the control mechanism they do have with our life.
And you use a word, Renestel, a lot, creativity. Okay, and we normally think of resources, but one of your greatest resources is your creativity, right? And your labor. Those two things combined are what you bring to the table, but that has to be converted into a financial aspect in order to survive and trade and go on with life, right? But I don't think we really think of it that way. We think of it as earning money, as if money has some intrinsic value. The intrinsic value is only in the creativity of the person that's doing it and the labor that they're expending for that and value that they contribute to society and therefore benefit from in exchange, basically. And that all gets quantitized into the economic system. Not necessarily fairly, but does get quantitized. And the banks are what control that effectively, and everybody has to interact with it. So
that's where I think we should definitely focus on really understanding that it's not as basic, and you can definitely switch the slide if you need to there, Ken, but it's not as basic of them as them being custodians of our value, of our money, of our currency, of our creativity. Like when we break it down and we do touch on, wait a minute, it's our energy, our creativity, our value, and like Eliza said, our spirit. But at the end of the day, we don't get to control it.
Well, and it gets reduced, that creativity and resource
before it hits our hands.
Yeah,
yes.
It gets reduced into a number, basically.
Yeah.
And so it minimizes that creativity in reality. But it's how our whole system is designed, and it's what we've all been conditioned to accept.
Right. And we've used the word custodian here. Okay, someone's a custodian, they should be a protector. Okay. That line shifts over to controller and not necessarily being for your benefit. Like we hear the term custodian. Now has it become a control mechanism? And I think that's what's happening. So there are good and bad pieces of this, but I think we have to be really aware.
Yeah, and I think it's custodian, care, and trust. At the end of the day, it's control and snitching right on us. But it's definitely sorry, I had to throw that there. But yeah, but that's the part I really want people to understand is like how crazy it is that we're all of that energy, spirit, value. It's our labor, and before we even get to feel it, if we even do, right, because of our cost of living there, but it's 50% of what used to be 100% a week ago or a day ago. And I think that's where we have to definitely, really analyze and understand how we can actually have it be closer to the 100%, if not 100%. And I'll stop there.
So the controllers, I'm just going to use the word controllers instead of crowns because I think that's really what it comes down to. Right? The controller's authority is deeply entrenched in the financial systems. Well, they designed it, so it has to be entrenched in there, right? And we don't challenge it, right? It just is what it is. We're told the way it works, and that's the way it works. And they've determined that. And the crown utilizes that to control by ensuring that the populace remains dependent on the financial system for their livelihood. And boy, are we dependent on it for livelihood. What would you do if you woke up one morning and your bank account was closed and you had to somehow survive? You couldn't even fathom it, right?
Well, I mean, even the most basic though, it's not necessarily even like waking up to it being closed. Just the fact that we do depend on having an account to have them hold our money versus having cash, all over our desk, under our papers, around our home,
and stuff to barter.
Right?
Yeah. So it's convenient as all get out.
Yeah.
And the more digital it gets, the more convenient it gets.
That convenient word comes up quite often, doesn't it?
It does,
Yeah.
yes.
Such a troubling word.
And questioning it, you see the word there, unchallenged. Anyone who does challenge, who starts to think, right? Whether it's taxation
dangerous.
or, it's dangerous to think. Whether any of these mechanisms, then we're talking about there are safeguards, there are bumpers, then they say, well, legally you have to do this. So people don't challenge. They think that legally somehow they are protected. Not necessarily. Or through the media, through societal norms, propaganda that you told everybody does and everyone is supposed to. So you've got the banking system taking advantage of, they all work in tandem, the legal system as well as the media, what we read, what we're told. So it does go unchallenged.
And more so because when, like you guys said, when we challenge it, right? I guess we're not allowed to think, because when we think, we are, quote unquote, dangerous, right? But the thing is that we as we challenge and we ask questions, at the end of the day, you have to be prepared. They may say no. They may say, we're closing your account, right? Because you've challenged them, because they don't like that. And you just have to be prepared that they may. And they're not the only bank. You just go to the next one, right? But what I'm saying is, you cannot be afraid to ask questions, right? And definitely be prepared. Yeah, it can happen that you will have to shop for another bank, but it's important that you do not simply just go with the flow. You need to ask questions. You need to challenge them. Yeah, the word legal scares you, or they say it to scare you, and that's just the way it is. Fine, on to the next bank. It's okay.
Well, I think most people fit so well within the system, they never have that issue to bump up against, because they just, open a bank account, they do their thing. They don't make waves that would cause the bank to cause them any trouble. So I think most people may not even be relating to this concept because they've never had an issue with the bank at all. It's people that want to keep things kind of private and run their own life that are more likely to run into those scenarios. Don't you think?
I agree, but in general, and not just for banking, just in general, I think it's important to know that we shouldn't just be going with the flow, right? Understand, question, ask. I don't know.
I mean, I think where I'm seeing this is not issues with individual banks so much as with the financial system in which the banks are a component of. And the system, when you stand back and you look at it, you're so inside that system that you don't look for other ways that things could be handled. Bitcoin and crypto has been kind of an effort to take an open, wider picture and saying, okay, this is what we've all been accustomed to. But is that the only way this could be handled, or could something else be done a better way? I think we've been also locked into the Federal Reserve system, and not just Federal Reserve, central banks in general, worldwide, that most people don't even know what I'm talking about when I say those words, because they just know they wake up and they go to their bank and they get their money and they do their process, and they don't really understand how that works to control things worldwide through that financial system, and how much kickback occurred when there began to be a consideration of crypto and more private types of transactions between people. The system didn't like that at all.
Mm.
And then the system looks for ways to control that through regulations and so forth, usually by telling you, oh, that's going to be unsafe, and we need to make regulations on that system too in order to keep you safe. And it's not really in order to keep you safe so much as it is to control you.
To your point,
safety and
though,
security.
Ken, to your point, though, of people just waking up and, they go and deposit or withdraw. No, people are waking up, going to their banks, and they're realizing that it's stricter and stricter on how you can actually transact by simply making cash deposits or even trying to withdraw your money. You're now like, it's an interrogation just to do that, and it's your money in the custodian care who you trust, who controls your life.
I hope you're right when you say people are waking up to that. I mean, I don't know how many people really are, but I hope they are. I think most
a lot more people need to, but yes, I think people are running into that.
Yeah, I think most people are just sleepwalking through the whole thing and not even noticing it. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And putting up with the inconvenience of being questioned.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's just part of the game. And even, Ken, you mentioned crypto. There's a big fight going on between the traditional banking system and how stablecoin crypto can now be utilized and introduced into the system. There are a lot of good things, but there are a lot of things that, that the banks, the financial system, the controllers are doing their very best to not let get out of their control. So hopefully some compromise is met, but it is another way for commerce to occur. I think we need alternatives.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's the most interesting part of this to me, is just the fact that we don't tend to question things because we just assume it's always been this way and this is the way it should always be, right? And so it's very hard to introduce new approaches and new thinking because of that bias of it's always been done this way. And it really hasn't always been done this way. But when your entire lifetime, this is the way it's been done, it's kind of hard to question things.
Yeah. And the busier they can keep us, which you look at social media, you look at everything, harder and harder to make a living because of inflation, because of other restrictions. They keep everybody very, very busy, including the young people. That's less time to be questioning these quote unquote inconveniences. And I see it happening around me.
And Estella, you look like you've got something you want to.
No, I know we should touch on that last paragraph thoroughly because we did discuss it, and we touched on it already, but it's powerful. And I know that Eliza's a reader. So Eliza, if you want to, I think we should read that last paragraph and really discuss it and close out the episode with it because it's solid.
Yeah, it is a powerful sentence.
Mm-hmm.
That the bank's role as an intermediary ensures that the flow of currency representing individuals' collective labor and value remains within the controlled parameters set by, we'll say, controllers' authority.
That is crazy.
Define why it's crazy in your view.
We've discussed it already, but it's like representing individuals' collective labor and value remains within the control parameters. Like we touched on it, energy, our creativity, our labor, our value. We don't control it. They do.
If
we create it, they control it.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Through perception, I think, is a lot of it. What's your true value? Who determines what your true value is?
Well, you create it, but
they've convinced us that they control your value. Do they really, though? I mean, if we allow society to follow their lead effectively, because they don't really control, they only can control if we allow them to control. But most of society falls right into, which means they are controlling even when they really are not controlling. But if we allow them to, by buying into what they call value, I mean, like, does it make any sense to you at all that an athlete makes bazillions of dollars or an entertainer makes bazillions of dollars? No, I mean, they put in effort, they learn something, they do valuable things to entertain, but the degree of value that's attributed to them is so out of control from the normal person that's living a life and taking care of their kids. And I mean, they're valuable too, but through our societal methodologies of attributing value, they don't get attributed much value through the system.
You're saying that they assign the value to each of us depending on our
but they do it through societal. They do it through societal manipulation, effectively, right? Because it's not real attribution of true value. It's made up, and that can only be done if people buy into it perceptually. And they use the media, which is another one of those levers that they use, not just the banks, but legal and media, social media, used to be television and radio and stuff, but to manipulate those societal beliefs and perceptions to control how your labor and your attributed value gets determined.
Right.
But I
think coming forward, I'm sorry, please finish the thought.
It doesn't change your actual value. It changes that perceived value.
No. And because of what we're being told by society regarding value, we only have a couple of % that actually are willing to think. Mm-hmm. And then I think we have like about 10% that society is patting on the back and giving thumbs up that they think they're thinking, where somebody else is really thinking for them. Yeah. And the rest, the other 88%, they would rather not think. Mm-hmm. Therefore, give me drinks, give me sports, give me whatever it takes to not think. And that's the push. So therefore, people will just roll along, as we've said, and go within these controlled parameters and be just fine.
And the reward in value for being the sports person or the entertainer, it just is flabbergasting to me. I just don't understand how.
It is mind-boggling.
It really is, yeah. All right. That's probably enough fun for one day.
Yeah. A great discussion today. Thank you.
Yeah. So think of banks in the broader view from the standpoint of financial control, financial manipulation, and so forth, from the controllers that put a whole lot of guidelines and pathways that people go down automatically without even thinking, just because those things are established the way they are, and we've just bought into them as the way it is and the way it's going to be.
I would call them gatekeepers, not custodians. Gatekeepers of value.
You're tough.
Not custodians.
I agree. Go get them.
All right.
I love you guys.
Yep.
This was great today. I can't wait till next week.
Let's remind them libertyarkpodcast.com/White Rabbit is where we are definitely getting all this information and great conversations we have. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Had a lot of fun today.
Yeah, if this stuff is interesting to you, there's a free account you can sign up for on that page. So if you go to libertyarkpodcast.com/White Rabbit, sign up for the free account, and we'll see you on the other side and have some interesting conversation.
A lot of fun there.
See you on the inside, guys. Bye-bye.
Right.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you next week. Okay, bye-bye.
The views expressed in this Liberty Ark podcast are for informational and educational purposes only. They do not constitute legal or tax advice, and they may not reflect the official positions of anyone at all, really. We want to express our appreciation to the authors of the unpublished manuscript titled The Great International Heist, on which the Liberty Ark podcast is based. Rebecca and Jonathan Rodrigues, the authors, provide courses that go into much greater depth and are available at libertyarkpodcast.com/White Rabbit.